From today, Mom will also be living with us, lol. I'll boss her around. The dream home we had been talking about and saving up for was completely shattered by the selfish actions of my husband, David. My rampaging mother-in-law said she's moving in, and David doesn't seem to have any intention of stopping her. I might go crazy from the stress if this continues, so I need to take action quickly. I am Karen Miller, a 43-year-old full-time employee and housewife. Since graduating from college, I have been continuously working at a travel agency. For many years, I was devoted to my work, but then, 3 years ago, a late spring came into my life. My encounter and marriage with David. David is a salesperson working for an insurance company. He often visited the travel agency where I work for business purposes. While other insurance salespeople would leave quickly after finishing their work, David always stayed a little longer to share small jokes or chit-chat, which left a peculiar impression on me. By the way, David, you know a lot, don't you? You always share interesting trivia with me. Oh, this? Well, Karen, do you know why I always bring small jokes when I visit this travel agency? Why is that? I wanted to have a reason to talk to you. Would you like to go out for dinner sometime? And that's how I met David, and we started dating and eventually got married. When I first met David and during our dating period, he seemed very masculine and somewhat smart. He always wore a crisp white shirt and a stylish suit, had a healthy body, and always escorted me like a true gentleman. He even took me to fancy restaurants that I had never been to before. I still remember the incredibly delicious French cuisine and the passionate proposal I received while eating it. I want to make you happy. Will you marry me? If you're okay with me, I'd be delighted. And so, we became husband and wife and started living together. When we got married, we decided to live together, but before finding a proper house, we started living in the apartment I had been residing in. David used to live alone in a company apartment, but it seems that it's not possible for more than one person to live there. Moreover, the timing of our marriage was unfortunate, as there were not many good apartments available at that time. It's unlikely to find a good apartment at this timing. Until we find a good apartment, why don't we live in my apartment? It was a bit too big for living alone, but it might be just right for 2 people. A 2-bedroom apartment should be enough for us to live comfortably. So, for now, let's live in your apartment and plan to move to our own home in the future. What do you think? About a year after we got married, David and I started talking about our own house. However, it was all ideal talk, and we didn't make any progress. To get our own house, we need to visit house manufacturers and model homes. I wonder if they will also explain about housing loans? Well, I don't know. I have meetings next week and the week after. When do you think we can go to the open house? They say it's better to get a housing loan as soon as possible, as it will be tough to repay it in the future. I want to consult about it sooner rather than later. It looks like I'll be busy for a while. It might be tough. I felt uneasy about David's reluctance to discuss the specifics of the house and finances. What I couldn't accept was David's daily behavior. Despite deciding to build our dream home, he kept spending money as if he were still single. This Friday, I'm going drinking with my junior colleague. Can I withdraw $200 from our joint account? Again? Last week you said you were buying a promotion gift for your junior and withdrew money, didn't you? Both you and I are full-time employees, and we don't have children, so we should have some extra money, right? So, it's not a problem. No, that's not the point. Have you forgotten that we talked about buying our own house? If you keep wasting money, we won't be able to save up. Then, David suddenly got angry and slammed the table. Do you mean to say that spending money on my junior colleagues is a waste? It's not just for your junior colleagues. We have a common goal of buying our own home, but you keep spending without saving any money. We have a mortgage, so it's fine, right? Frustrated with David's uncooperative attitude, I was desperate to work hard for our future. But besides the mortgage contract, there's also the repayment, right? They say they check your annual income, so I wonder if it's okay. We both work, and I work for a major insurance company, so it should be fine. It's not that simple. They check your age, debts, credit cards, car loans, and whether you have any debts. Are you okay, David? What the hell? Are you saying I have debts? David, suddenly getting angry, even though I just asked casually. It's always the same, the conversation doesn't progress. Not at all. Just checking. If there's no problem, then it's fine. I had a slight distrust of David, who suddenly got angry about the mortgage contract. Even though we have this conversation occasionally, David's spending habits never change. Treating juniors, buying gifts for someone, rewarding himself. There's no end if I start counting, and I can't accept it because it all comes from our household expenses. I've heard that when people are stressed, their appetite and desire for things temporarily increase. I decided to wait and see until David calms down. Apart from the problem of buying a home, there is another problem that bothers me. David's mother, Shelby, is a very troublesome presence for me. My mother-in-law lives alone about 40 minutes by train from the apartment I live in, and she often comes to our house, maybe because she is free. Oh, Karen, welcome home. I had some tea. Oh, Shelby. You were here. David gave me this as a gift. He said I could come anytime. David had made a spare key to my room without permission and gave it to his mother. The moment I saw the spare key in my mother-in-law's hand, I had a bad feeling. That feeling turned out to be true. When I come home after work, the arrangement of things has changed, or unfamiliar trash has been thrown away. Apparently, my mother-in-law seems to come more than 4 times a week. Karen, you've messed up again. Is your job so busy that you don't have time to clean? It's not a black company, but thanks to you, I'm quite busy. But I decide the days and places to clean, and I also have a cleaning robot. However, my mother-in-law is pointing her finger at one point while glaring. When I looked at the direction of her gaze, I saw a pile of snack boxes. It must be the one David ate instead of breakfast when he went to work in the afternoon, because it wasn't there when I cleaned before going to work. However, my mother-in-law, who has no way of knowing that, seems to think it is the empty snack box that I scattered and ate. I can't believe you left the snack trash like that. It's not good for the future children, and it's a straight path to illness in the future. My mother-in-law's sarcasm continues. I don't need to bother telling her that this is the trash from the snacks David ate, so I kept silent and listened to her sarcasm. Just as I was enduring my mother-in-law's sarcasm and hoping she would go home soon, David came home. Oh, you were here? I was here. If you stay in a room full of dust and garbage, David, you'll get sick, right? Thanks, Mom. Karen is sloppy, after all. Yes, indeed. Oh, I put tonight's side dishes in the refrigerator, so eat them. Oh, Karen. There didn't seem to be much food, but you have to cook properly. Unnecessary meddling until the very end. After my mother-in-law left, David suddenly declared as if he had made up his mind. All right, let's buy a house. Let's get a house by next month. Wait, what? Suddenly. You didn't seem enthusiastic about it until now. What happened? There were some things at the company. So, shall we go to the housing exhibition this weekend? From there, everything went smoothly, and the procedure for buying a home was completed. We wanted to move in immediately and didn't have a particular preference for the design, so we bought a ready-built house. We also canceled the contract for the apartment we are currently living in and decided to move immediately. David had a point where he wouldn't budge about getting a house by next month, which bothered me a bit. There were various things about the mortgage contract, but somehow it ended safely, and I am relieved. On the day of moving, the intercom rang while we were bustling about. Hey, someone seems to have come. Karen, could you get that? I can't let go right now. Okay, and oh? Shelby, what's going on? It's not what's going on, really. It's hot outside, so please let me in quickly. Oh. You came? Did she come because she was called for help or something? But Shelby is already old, and there's limited things she can do in the midst of the busy moving process. Did you come to help? But we're almost done. What are you talking about, Karen? I'm going to live here from today. Eh? What do you mean? I haven't heard about this. She's going to live here from today. I have many things I want to ask David, but I don't know where to start. Why do you decide such important things without consulting me? She's feeling lonely living alone. Isn't it nice to live together so we won't be lonely? Yeah, right. Besides, Karen, you're always prioritizing work and not properly taking care of the house. Shelby glanced at me and immediately made a sarcastic remark. No, it's none of your business that I can't properly take care of the house. I'll boss you around. I don't understand what Shelby and David are saying at all. I'll say it again. Why do you decide such important things on your own? Did I ever say it's okay for me to live together? Why? Because I'm the head of this house. It's natural for me to decide who I want to let into my house, right? Why do we need your opinion, Karen? It's infuriating that David, who doesn't seem to understand why I'm angry, is looking at me with a dumbfounded expression. Yes, that's the answer. You think you can do whatever you want because you're the head of the house. What? Shelby is an important family member, so what's the problem? You have no right to complain. If you have a complaint, get a divorce. I never thought my own husband would be that type. It's a new fact after several years of marriage. Aren't you misunderstanding something? Huh? These two probably won't understand even if I explain. Judging so, I started to prepare to leave the house by packing my belongings simply. Since the unpacking from the move was still in progress and the items immediately necessary for daily life were packed in one box, I could leave the house as soon as I made up my mind. Oh, going to cool your head? Don't be too late. Mom wants to eat dinner at 7 p.m. I ignored David's words, grabbed the box, and dashed out. I shipped the box to my parents' house at a nearby convenience store and immediately called my parents' house. Hello, Mom? Can I come over now? There's something I want to talk about. Fortunately, my parents' house is about an hour away from our new home by train. I contacted them and immediately went back to my parents' house to explain the situation. When I arrived at my parents' house, my parents and sister were there, and they listened to the whole story. I was exhausted and fell asleep that night, but I started to take active steps towards divorce the next day. In the morning, when David was not there, I was able to relax and rest my body at my parents' house for the first time in a long time. When I woke up and checked my smartphone, I was almost shocked to see nearly 100 missed calls and emails. Are you still not coming back? Mom says she's hungry, so come back soon. Are you running away? Stop messing around. And other messages were pouring in. Ignoring the calls and emails, I started looking for something. It was a loan agreement and documents for the new house. The loan agreement was from when we, as a married couple, borrowed money from my parents. Because we didn't have any money at the time, David insisted on building a house. We didn't have enough money for a home loan, let alone a down payment, so we borrowed money from my parents. I remembered the conversation when we decided to borrow money from my parents for the new house. Do you really want a house right now? Sure, getting approved for a mortgage is important, but do you even have enough savings for the down payment? I don't have any savings right now, but I do have about 50 lottery tickets here. If any of these hit, we could build a house right away. That's not what I mean. Why the rush? Why not wait until you have enough saved for at least the down payment? Building a house without sufficient funds will just make life harder, you know? Mike, a colleague of mine, is gonna build his own home next year. The guy has fewer clients than me, and yet he's acting all high and mighty. So, I've been thinking, as the man of the house, I should at least build 1 or 2 homes myself. That's when I remembered. All he wanted was to build a house before his colleague did. It was unbelievable, but that was it. In the end, realizing we didn't have the money, he even started asking me to borrow money from my parents. And the reason our home contract documents are at my parents' house is because of David's personality. David is quite sloppy, and he often loses important documents, like contracts and manuals. Despite having lost important documents several times and facing trouble, we realized we needed to take some measures to prevent it from happening again. Even I had enough, so I suggested to David that we store the home contract documents at my parents' house, and he agreed, so that's where they are kept. Whenever I look at the home contract documents, they are indeed in my name. When we made the actual contract for the house, David couldn't come because he had important work, and it turned out he couldn't make the contract in his name. It was revealed that there was a problem with his credit history, so the contract had to be made in my name. At that time, I thought it wouldn't matter whose name it was, so I didn't tell David, but now I wonder about the credit history issue. Upon researching, I found that if someone has delayed loan payments or debts, their credit history gets damaged and they can't make new contracts. With all this evidence, it should be okay. I immediately decided to contact David. David? Is now a good time? It's not a good time. You left my mom alone, didn't cook, didn't clean, and just left the house. Aren't you failing as a housewife? I don't know about your mom. You said yesterday that if I left the house, it would be a divorce, right? Yeah, I did. But I'm kind, so if you come home now and apologize to me and my mom, I might forgive you. What will you do? Hearing David's words, I was reminded once again that he had not reflected on anything. I understand. I'll go home now. Oh, finally got it. Hurry back. What does he mean, hurry back? I jumped on the train, and on the way, I bought a voice recorder at an electronics store and headed home. I'm back. Now, let's talk. Talk about what? I have nothing to discuss with you. As a wife, you should just serve me and my mom. Nothing to discuss, huh? I won't let you say you don't recognize these documents. I showed him the promissory note I brought from my parents' house. You said you really wanted a home sooner than your peers, so even though we didn't have a down payment, we forced my parents to lend us the money, right? Digging up the past like that. This is why I hate women. The past? It's a debt for the house, right? First of all, this document says that your parents lent us money. So you have the obligation to pay it back, right? Don't leech off me. This attitude, even after borrowing money, shows he just doesn't understand. It's time for the last resort. Didn't you say if I can't stand living with your mother, we should get a divorce? Changed your mind, huh? If you apologize sincerely now, I might forgive you. Then let's get divorced. By the way, this house is under my name, so after the divorce, you and your beloved mom will have to move out. David and Shelby looked at me in shock. Why the hell does it come to this? Kicking out the head of the household, are you out of your mind? Yes, exactly. It's not a wife's place to kick her husband out of the house. Well, I think this will make it clear. I handed them the mortgage documents. What the hell? It's under Karen's name. That can't be right. This must be some mistake. There's no way a woman can earn more than a man. Besides, David works for a large corporation. There shouldn't be any issue with the loan approval. The loan approval isn't just about the company name. David, you've been repeatedly borrowing money, right? Borrowing too much from various places and missing repayments, it seems. David looked at me with a dumbfounded expression. Missed repayments? Are you saying I'm the type to not repay what I borrowed? Yes, that's right. David would never do something so irresponsible. But there were missed repayments, and it affected the credit score, so the loan couldn't be approved, and it had to be under my name, right? David and Shelby looked frustrated, but it was too late now. You've always been showy but careless with money and couldn't save, right? I can't continue living with you. Wait a minute. How is a woman going to live alone now? If you live quietly with David and me, you'll be able to get by. Why do you, who tried to move into my house halfway, act so high and mighty? I'll say it again, the ones getting kicked out are David and you, Shelby, okay? She still didn't seem to understand her position. If I don't make it clear now, it will cause trouble later. I recorded this conversation. I'll take these documents and your claims to a legal expert, and let them decide. An expert? What would a stranger know? If a lawyer accepts David and your claims, I will return to this house and do whatever you say. How about that? That's fine. It'll be fun to see Karen's naivety exposed and her embarrassment. I took the contract and voice recorder and went to the law firm. Naturally, the ownership of the house was acknowledged to be mine, and David's numerous mistreatments towards me were recognized, and I was granted a divorce. A few days after the lawyer sent documents to David, I got a call. Hey, that's a lie, right? I haven't heard anything about paying alimony on top of the divorce. What is this alimony for in the first place? That's the conclusion drawn by the legal expert. Is there a problem? If you have any objections, you'll have to discuss them in court. No way, going to court is a bit much. I have an important position at work, so I can't take time off. What are you talking about? I am not asking about that. The divorce is a done deal. Are you going to pay the mental damages caused, or not? David probably didn't expect me to be this assertive. He seems flustered on the other end of the phone. No way, it's weird to end things like this when we loved each other. Besides, my mom is old and can't move as she used to. She can't do housework. So what? It sounds like you're saying, come home and do the housework because I can't. You should do it yourself. Can we start over? I think we can make it work. Stop it. I am busy with my work. I don't have time to spend with you. I decided that it wasn't worth listening to David anymore and hung up the phone quickly. By the way, I decided to sell the house that I bought under my name. I don't feel like living in the same house where all that fuss with David and my mother-in-law happened, and it's too big for one person. Fortunately, I found a buyer quickly and sold it at a better price than I expected, which was a silver lining. Since the divorce, David seems to be having a tough time. According to a friend of mine who works in a different department at the same company, he's been showing up to work looking miserable. The mother-in-law, who used to take good care of him, seems to have been bedridden from the shock of the divorce, leaving no one to do the housework. David can't do any housework at all, so his life is in chaos. He can't even manage meals, and he's been gaining weight from eating out all the time. However, his pride remains unchanged, and he continues to assert his competence at work, which seems to be making him unpopular among his colleagues. I remember David, who used to be all talk and no action, always giving unnecessary advice without producing any significant results. My friend said that if he continues like this, he might be transferred to a regional office soon. It seems like the bill for recklessly charging ahead without being able to take care of himself has finally come due. Since the divorce, I have been focusing on my work. Although my life is different from what I had imagined, I am satisfied with my current situation. Perhaps because I can now concentrate on my work, my sales performance has improved, and I have been approached about becoming a regional manager at the next salary increase. I feel happy that I can find fulfillment in my work as it expands. I shudder to think what would have happened if I hadn't gotten divorced and had just put up with everything. I want to fully appreciate my current happiness.